made it tonight. We can't have food or drink inside the temple, but we can have human beings, that's all right. And as people find their way away from the food and drink, they realize that life is gone in a single blink. And that's why we're honoring while we can all these wonderful women and men. You see, just this afternoon I got a message from Tom Doyle. These kidney stones are causing him groan, so he's gone, not able to come. But we know enough good ones will be here to make this life song live on. Now the beautiful thing about J-Bo is we can join in and jam. Yeah, beautiful thing, J-Bo, anytime you can. Because the nice thing about being here is that we don't know what's going to happen next. We pick on people who seem ready to actually be blessed by this wonderful evening. Take the books from the counter and take them home. It's a beautiful thing. The whole point about dreams is that there's something you can share with anyone. When you wake up in the morning, say, I've had beautiful dreams, someone says, so have I, let's compare them then. And you, and it's wonderful too. No matter what you say, it's hard to get paid the poets to do exactly what you want them to. Oh, Diane, would you tell them all the poetry's begun and they're missing something? I know. I tried too. What can you do? Did you get a book from the table? Help yourself?
Not yet.
Ah, you will. It's a good thing. So the dream is that we acknowledge and respect the world. The first poem is listening. The second poem is respect. But you've got to be alive to respect. I haven't talked to a dead person yet for a long time. There ain't no conversation going on. It's just like a monologue song. So I welcome my friends to fill up the air around.
You might as well talk to them. You're talking to them.
I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you. I'm talking to you too. All two of you. It's a wonderful thing. A friend once said it doesn't matter about the number of people you're with, it's the quality. Quality of consciousness.
Thank you. I appreciate
What'd they say, Diane?
I'm breaking up.
That's really good. Freedom is such a hard thing to drag away from. Food, the right to eat, the right to drink.
Wrangling cats.
Wow. Making their way. Birdman, that's very good. Oh, Louise, she made it. How wonderful. The gang's almost all here. Now the other 52,000 of them, where are they all hiding now? Thank you, concert. That's really good. Yeah. Okay. So listen, while the features aren't here, why don't we have a round robin of the people who are here? That means either Scott or Louise or Magic Jack or Ralph or Birdman 3 on 3. The features aren't here, they're out in the kitchen having a good time.
No,
So we'll start the show
I said
anyway.
it was time to come in, but
Yeah.
they're busy.
I said that too, they're having fun.
They're milling around.
What do you think they're doing? I think this is poetry
Hey,
or
Scott,
something.
how you doing?
Hello there, Pete. Get them in, baby. Sure, yeah. Help yourself, Ralph. Help yourself. Oh, yeah.
A little.
This is the young man.
Young man.
So you count. He brought.
Oh, yeah, I remember this young man. Not that different young man.
Yeah.
Oh, wonderful, Zach.
This is Tom, right?
Please meet you, Zach. Come on in. We're just going to have some featured people soon. But in the meantime, the dream time, while we're able to come in, we're going to do a round robin. You know what that is? One poem at a time. You just get on. And as soon as they're finished, someone else gets on. Let's start the night because the features are having too much fun in the kitchen. But that's the people we're honouring tonight. So we're going to go with our own fun until the features come. I see one, but she's waiting for an audience. So Zach, are you ready?
Yeah.
Good, come on, you're on. One poem, and then whoever's up next, one poem. We're going to get this show on the road, whether the road likes it or not. Welcome home. Hey, welcome.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Good.
Good. Cool. So it's nice to be here. I flew in from Tampa, Florida, just a couple days ago. Yeah. Just visiting. Are you from Tampa?
I
used to live there.
Oh, very cool. So I'm just going to read you something I wrote. It's called It May or May Not Be Paris. Sorry, I got a little cold. I open my eyes and wake up. My butt feels stony and sore. God, someone stop me. I look around the backyard. The sun is up. A bird sitting on the fence is chirping incessantly. My neighbor is revving up his Jeep and heading to morning classes. My roommates are probably asleep. It's not such a bad place. Sure, we don't have a lawn of grass. We have a sea of stones, so you have to be careful wandering between the chairs. But sometimes you will come out here to smoke. Last night, this guy named Bliss prattled on and on about 70s music and video games and basketball and 100 different reasons why biology is the best major. He sat in the blue chair beneath the Christmas lights and had 100 things for me to look up. He blames it on the Ritalin, but I think that if we stuck him in a straight suit and stuffed him in a padded room, he'd talk and talk and talk. At the time, I could dig it. My stomach wasn't twisted like a tuba, and I was ready to accept anything and listen to anyone. Yes, yes, yes. But right now, I'm sitting in the corner of a coffee shop and wondering what the benefit of writing is when I can't understand physics. A girl wearing light blue smocks is making a website, and she's really worried that her word choice will make her sound like a feminist. Now she's talking about branding, and her creative partner loves projects and is so excited and says they can certainly finish by May. And how do I compare? There are a few people I know who will whip out their cameras as we're walking along the street and find perfect lighting falling beneath their feet, and they capture all the sunsets in a in a frame above the sink. There are a few people who will poke the world with a rubber stick and be satisfied with a floor that's slick with fallen idols. There are a few people who will tell you their name is Margaret, and that it means beautiful pearl. And when you're mad, you'll feel your blood curdle and think they're stupid for the random kindness they hurl, and how do I compare? We are angry stars that glitter behind teeth, and slippery words that seethe beneath sundry dreams dashed in sleep. We are hungry sheep on trapped islands. Yes, yes, yes. The fallen angel groans when it can't pick up its wings, and the moral choir moans when it knows it cannot sing. And 100 different objects become 100 different things when they're tossed into the sausage of 100 different flings. The backyard is dark now, and the bird left a long time ago. It may or may not be Paris, and we may or may not ever know. Thank you.
Oh, I'm not going on this.
Just adjusting the reality. Well, we were waiting for our esteemed featured guests to arrive, and two of them are in the room, but are they ready is the question. That's for Connie and for Connie. Okay. Well,
While they're getting up their
Well,
courage, let me read up.
please,
what
please,
my
round
story-
robin while we're waiting. It's
All right.
really good. Thank you for the fine poem, sir.
And you features, get up here now, please.
They will. Better. Otherwise, the night's yours.
I want to read one by a guy that if he was still in Austin, he'd probably be one of the features here tonight. George Clowder was a teacher of poetry and literature at St. Edward's for many years, and a mainstay in the Austin Poetry Society and here on the Austin poetry scene for just about as long as he was teaching over at St. Ed's. The church in its wisdom decided to yank him up to Holy Cross up next to Notre Dame. So we're kind of he's gonna hold on to his membership though in APS, which I'm really glad to hear. So we'll at least get his poetry. This is a little world made cunningly, and it won the Family, Friends, and Philosophy Award last year. And again, it's by George Clowder. Hollyhocks never grew in her garden. They were an alley flower, yet how we loved them. Tall, scratchy poles on a hot August day sprouting trumpets, pink and lavender and white, each with a dusty yellow tongue fumbled by bumblebees. If my grandmother noticed the stacks of flowers, she never said so as she poked among her vegetable and berry patches. But what would the alley be without her sentinels? A scary place for grandchildren, the lesser for a lack of color, music, light, and garden culture. So when they died in autumn, gone in hard brown paths of circle seeds, rough to our touch and sight, the stalks would bend under rain, drop their hopeful discs into alley loam and look through winter into spring.
Birdman 313 from Houston, Texas.
For those that don't know me, I'm Birdman 313. And this is a poem that I normally write my poems between 11 and 5 o'clock in the morning, so.
Good time.
Yes, and this one is a short poem. It's titled Whispers in the Dark. I know Louise heard it already, and Tom. Listen to the whispers in the dark. Once again, sitting and waiting, staring and waiting, wrestling and staring. Pages of words bang into each other in the dark. Sunlight slips through the windows. Listen to the whispers in the dark. In and out of the shadows, a touch of darkness with sleepless dreams. A treasure of tears rests in silence. Listen to the whispers in the dark. A ghost in the tavern is moaning to the moon. From the depths of a dungeon, rise up beyond the light. If they ever saw your ashes, listen to the whispers in the dark.
Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is the full moon, that belongs to poets. This is night, that belongs to poets. This is Rick Williams' birthday, that belongs to every poet in the room. Pretty soon it'll be Patricia Fiske's birthday too, and that belongs to every poet in the world. Apparently in this universe tonight there is a birthday cake which has more poetry upon it, and more poets can eat more poetry by eating that cake and by sharing Rick Williams' beneficence and generosity of spirit. We are so blessed to have so many fine souls who do not as yet necessarily know each other, but need to. Because for long periods of dreaming tracks, they have been working, building the foundations of a beautiful future. Rather than being distracted by the horror of headlines, they've been creating the possibilities of poetic piquancies. Now, what we normally do is every feature poet gets 10 minutes, and then we have the potluck, and then we come back round robin. Because poets are cats, we have the potluck, and we'll keep having the potluck whenever we feel like it. And the features will come up when they like, in their own order, and then pleasant things will happen for all of us. They have 10 minutes to describe the universe and to enact it for us. And then the next person comes up, and when we've all had that, then of course, every person in the room gets to be heard. Now, if you wish musical accompaniment, we have two fine musicians tonight who will accompany you, and maybe even Barbara on the piano. She plays that piano like a honky-tonk. Yeah. But we've got Scott Vanya down there. There he is, Scott. And we have the Magic Jack. So they are fine accompanists to anything you want, and they don't need to know what you're saying. They just catch the vibe if you feel so inclined. So the strict rules are, well, there aren't any really. It's a temple, so we can't have food or drink. And they like the Baha'i community likes positivity in all poetic participation. So the feature poets get to choose when they would like to be heard. Who would like to be heard first? Oh, don't all rush the mic over there. Who would? No, I'm not featured. I'm your introducer tonight. And also, young man, Herman Nelson. This man is one of 12 poets on February 7th who will be reminding us that there were poets before us. They'll be reading the poetry of poets past. There are people only we know of that other people don't know of, not just the obvious Albert Hooke sticklers and Deb Akers and Susan Brights, but there are Ali Owaisi, Floyd Freeman, Trinidad Sanchez Jr., Mim Sharlak. These names may not mean much to you, Dr. Joseph Colin Murphy, but they're all little butterflies who came into the poetry circle and who flipped out into another orbit. We would have wished them here, but what we're going to do next expressions is have the living poets read the poets past. And Herman, is that you were saying you want to read first? Hello.
You want me to read first?
Why not? What a brilliant idea. Herman Nelson, one of the founders of the Poetry Festival. We have a chair. And lots of good help too. We have hot drinks in the kitchen that will cure everything. Lassitude.
Wassail.
Yes, we've got wassail. And I do believe this young man has a new CD. Is this true, young man?
Not a buck.
Ah, look at this. Poetry and music on CD. What's this world coming to?
$6.
$6, that's what it's coming to. Herman.
6 poems, very expensive.
Very
expensive.
Okay.
Most people can't afford it. Let's see. Well, I really wasn't ready. I got to find the poem that you want me to read. Okay, where's our tech? We need to get those mics up.
We might Okay. We call this doing a Conklin. Joe Conklin used to, at Chicago House, open his book, and before he read a haiku, he would spend 16 hours going through the book looking for the haiku.
I am having trouble finding this one.
Do a song.
Do a song.
Yeah, Tom.
Okay. What song to do? I feel so stupid now. Is this on?
Yes,
Yeah, okay.
we heard you say that.
Blackbirds turning south again. The land is blowing cold. My thoughts are turning back to when each meadow had its gold. For lovers nestled on the banks of brooks that played among the spotted pebbles in the sand where leafy shadows hung. Like moles on the dancing wind, handcrafted by the sun. And time was but a legendary curse believed by none. Time was but a legendary curse believed by none. Yesterday's summer, cloudless and spacious, days without number, light and vivacious, cinnamon scented, raspberry good. Wouldn't you like to go back if you could? November written by the wind defies the warming sun. But summer standing at her end identifies with none of anything that isn't love or will not play the game. The people play when they have found their sights are set the same. That people play when they have found their sights are set the same. And these 6 songs are just equal to that. Okay, I can't find the one that I'm supposed to read, so I'll read a different one. I like this poem very much. deep in my brown study. Of course, a brown study means to be in deep contemplation, something very serious. Alone in my brown study over hot coffee and cinnamon cakes, I study shades of brown. I have no doubt it is Earth's favorite color. When green dies, it is there, waiting. Life becomes a print in sepia, covering barren fields and sun-tanned hills. Nature turns whatever she can to some umber hue, mummies, manure, and mud. Dung is her manna. She feeds on it. Without it, as without the sun, there would be no life. The dung beetle moves the sun across the Nile, where the pyramids point Orion's belt out of the round dunes of the upper kingdom. Pharaoh's skin, dried by the process, remains unliving, to be reckoned by the living, brown as walnut husks. Oddly, my thoughts rode to another place and time. A boy, I roamed the woods between the varied leaves, oak, elm, nut, crabapple, cherry, and plum. In those green days they stood tall and dark and united over the verdant turning earth. They were unconcerned with each other, never an argument as to which would feed the furry squirrel or hold the brightest bird. Sparrow and wren were welcome as robin and thrush. Vine and bramble housed both the serpent and the hare. But always the brown days followed as they did and do in Egypt. We resign ourselves to our city dwellings as the pharaohs resigned their fates to their pyramids and brown-eyed Isis. We have wandered far from sand through forest and field, content now to drink coffee, eat cinnamon cakes, absorb our minds in the study of brown as we dry by the process like pharaohs into mummies, as we dry like walnut husks. Thank you.
Do you recognize this man?
I've never seen him before.
You never will again. Wonderful. He has his own tarot deck.
Thank you.
By her own choice, a wonderful, amazing, astonishing, and unique Barbara Carr.
Somebody said one time I was nice. I said, no. I'm talented and cute, but I'm not.
Talented and cute.
Beautiful. Thank you. Really beautiful.
Close enough?
Yeah.
We can hear you.
I just don't want to fall off the edge. You know how it's more fun if you've been drinking, if you fall off the edge. Texas water memories. Near Tomball, Texas, my childhood home, Walnut Creek ran through East Piney Woods into bayous and the San Jacinto River, eventually emptied into the Gulf of Mexico. What warm, salty memories those days of youth and those places resurrect With my father, I went fishing and frog gigging on Buffalo Bayou, and squirrel, raccoon, and ringtail cat hunting in the thickets. Saw-toothed palmettos propagated along the river as thick as naturally curly hair. When we tromped through the woods with our father, trying to be quiet, I imagined the Spaniards exploring this land, marching in file or riding horses along a path near me before Texas won its freedom from Mexico. When the sun was right, I could see golden glints flicker off their shining metal helmets and breastplates, hear their swords clanking against armor and stirrups, their raucous laughter and lyrical Spanish words echoing across rocks and pine trees before they trailed off to sink into the river. Thank you. You might as well expect rivers to run backwards as that any man who was born a free man should be contented when penned up and denied liberty. That's a quote by Chief Joseph. Land where hopes and dreams flow through the beautiful Illinois River. I sing a song of the river where it dances across ancient stones. I sing a song of its ripples where spirits make water their home. Land of my father when he was a boy, where he lived, he fished, and he loved. The waters of its scenic flow created by God's hand above. The humming of wild roaming currents are calling out softly to me. I'll join its ancient strong rhythms and flow with it where souls are free. The clear water with its rock bottom of this Illinois River Grand slips near our ancestral home sites. It travels through my father's land. I sing a song of the river where it dances across ancient stones. I sing and write of its beauty where water and stones and I are one. Thank you. Sitting on the Illinois riverbank near Tahlequah, Oklahoma, remembering, that's the title. This place, this one place, knits a large part of my whole cloth together into one giant tapestry. How I love it here, sitting near this clear rock-bottomed river and wading to its chilly edges where gentle waves refresh my aching body with its healing sacred waters. I can close my eyes anywhere in the world and visualize sunlight dappling off its shimmering eddies, hear its soft lapping noises sifting over skirted tree roots and fallen limbs, its rushing rapids barreling over stone fortresses. River murmurs sing songs of comfort, strength, and remembrance as they stretch beneath bluffs along the winding road across from Montefiore Cemetery. All life's threads lead me here, weave my patterns together into this ancestral blanket begun by my ancestors. They sat on this same shady riverbank, fished, chatted, or napped as my daughter and I do today. I hear the voices of my ancestors whispering to me in the wind, welcoming me home. Thank you. Cherokee Visions. Today, as I stand near this final resting place of you, my ancestors, near Montefiore Cemetery, memories exhume themselves. Indian roots push up through sacred earth and dance tribal rhythms before my eyes. In my daydreams, I become one with all things on earth. I am there with you, a part of your buffalo hunts and war dances, adorned in beads and feathers for my wedding day in white buckskin, dancing with the one I love. My arms ache, heavily laden with feathers of sacred eagle dancers as I circle your council fires. My arms ache with visions of the babes I might carry around in ancient Indian villages. My spirit soars skyward to become one with the Great Spirit. I bleed from your wounds received in battle and from each other. I share in celebrating your full acoustics and victories in battle. I weep for your children who died from hunger and for your old ones who died from hardships on the Cherokee Trail of Tears. I suffer myself from the displacement of my homelessness. But as you, my ancestors, have always done, I too survive. And now at this moment, standing near this final resting place of you, my ancestors, my spirit remembers and leaves my body to be with you. I'll follow you in the rhythms of your sacred dances as I slip from my time into the mists of your obscurity. My dream fades into smoke-filled visions of eternity as we ride away together in the land of the Great Spirit. Thank you. Two more short ones. All right. Well, we've experienced this around here lately. It's called a blue norther. Immortal dreaming. When the first blue norther gusts into the valley each fall and crosses the Illinois River, pastures, forests, mountains, and Mollyfield Cemetery, it paints everything on the earth with first frost. Trees close pores, slip deep inside themselves, and, with small wild things wintering there to escape the elements, seek warmth inside bark tunnels and dormant sap. Stone markers sink further into even colder graves. Brisk winter winds whisper through every tree, curl around all remaining dead leaves, sketch a different poem onto each one, before the once brightly colored messenger floats down to cover the resting places of our ancestors. When the wind calms down, silent snowflakes sometimes fall softly, cover loved ones' dust with their special blanket. Leaves, bones, and memories dream all things, whisper all secrets, cry every man's tears. After drying off sorrow's traces with tomorrow's sunshine, they will chant every word ever written back into the air and sky, join the Great Spirit, and become immortal. The season of their storytellers can now begin. Thank you. And another quote from Chief Joseph, and then I'll end with something funny. In the winds which pass through these aged pines, we hear the moaning voices of our people's departed ghosts. Now I hear my voice in the depths of the forest, but no answering voice comes back to me. All is silent around me. My words must therefore be few, and I can say no more, for he is silent, who has nothing to answer when the sun goes down. And in honor of something Pete particularly liked, the importance of not having horse sense. It is important, you know. In a barbecue restaurant in Kyle, Texas, the walls are decorated with down-home country signs, and because I collect pigs, I like the ones that were about taking care of hogs from birth until we kill them so we can eat them. Their owners were supposed to get them hogs off to a good start with some Swinemilk developer and pig starter SP250, then give them lots of hog concentrate and finish them up with some hog finisher. I thought it funny. The hogs are fed concentrated food to fatten them up after being baby fed on pig starter so they can become bacon, pork roast, fried pork skins, and barbecue for us to pig out on. Surely swine only get hog finisher near the end of their lives. If I were a hog, I would watch my human owners very carefully and learn how to read the names of the feed bags they dump into my trough, and I would never ever eat any hog finisher. Thank you. Where did my stick go?
Where did your stick go? Is this your stick, ma'am?
Yeah, my legs are getting wobbly here.
That's okay. Now, yep.
Oh, I sat down, didn't mean to.
Isn't that amazing?
This feels really
I
good.
call that gravity.
But I'll get back up and get off.
Collects gravity.
There's my poster, and it is gorgeous. Yes, indeed.
Modest to a fault. It's really good. Barbara's got
Now, I've published 19 books. They're all for sale someplace.
Yep.
And I just made 3 CDs recently.
Yep.
One of my piano music and 2 of reading poetry with Bob Mudd backing me up on didgeridoos, flutes, and water and music sounds, and bird sounds. There we go. No animals on there, though.
There will be.
Oh, it's terrible to be over 30. Thank you.
Always the one-liners. I should praise people before or after, because these are people of significance. These are people who have a track record that goes back further than most of us. So, next person, Christine Gilbert, is excessively modest, but some of you may know her as the editor of Borderlands, a person who helped many other publications come into being. If you catch the bus in Austin, you would have seen her work on Capital Metro. She did all the paintings, all of them different, for the poetry on the buses. As well as that, she helped for Reed with Texas in the Fast for years. She assisted so many people. She did the covers for the Austin International Poetry Festival anthologies and children's anthology. And her artwork is incredible, her craft work is amazing, her modesty is astonishing, and her poetry is exceptional. Please listen to Christine Gilbert.
Wow, what an introduction. Hi, it's good to see everybody here. And we had 10 minutes, and so I'm going to look at my watch. First point is alternate reality. On the front walk this morning, I picked up the newspaper. Bending over, I saw each green leaf tremble on the rose bush, the velvety softness of each distinct pink petal. A wood dove's call blended with a cardinal's in perfect synchronicity. Suddenly, time froze. Past, present, future were one. Even the breeze didn't touch me, a figure frozen in a photograph, or the stopped frame that could go forward or backward, but always remain that single image in the continuity. The pause ended. I picked up the newspaper. The camera rolled. Thank you. My mother lives at Westminster Manor, and she's going to be 99 this month. And sometimes I write poems about my mother. And this is about visiting the nursing home. They still play bridge at the nursing home. The young nurse deals cards around the table. Aged hands arrange fans of cards by suits. The nurse starts the bid, one club. Mom and I sit beside Ruth, watching. I've never played, ask about the rules. The nurse explains until white-haired Ruth, who just got a perm today, says firmly, quit talking or leave the table. Now, what was the bid? Ruth has a trove of diamonds but passes. Her neighbor, Nancy, also passes. Mrs. Ledbetter bids one spade. The nurse bids 2 clubs. Ruth has 2 spades in her hand. She passes. Nancy passes. Mrs. Ledbetter bids 3 spades. The nurse passes. Ruth lays down her hand. Mrs. Ledbetter doesn't even wince. Ruth's rows of diamonds and hearts are high. Mrs. Ledbetter plays a spade. Around and around it goes as she takes winning tricks, while with every turn, worried Nancy asks, what's trump? The nurse tosses clubs on hearts and diamonds. Ruth plays dummy, and clever Mrs. Ledbetter wins with deft aplomb, but nobody's keeping score. Feeding mother. I offer you a bite of cake. Savoring the taste without opening your eyes, you eat. Then I fork potato through the gap of your missing front teeth. And you eat that too, stoically. Then some meat. Then more cake with a dollop of whipped cream. Another bite, carrots perhaps? When you shake your head no, barely opening your eyes, I suggest a sip of water. You take the glass in your knotty fingers and quietly sip, slowly. Setting the glass down, hands on the table, eyes closed, you seem to wait. Are you dreaming, I ask, but you shake your head. Are you thinking of anything at all? Or is it just empty in there? I sort of joke. Your green eyes open, a smile at play on your thin lips. Empty, nothing, nothing at all, you reply in your soft voice. Then you point at my embroidered vest. That's so pretty. I always marvel at how you choose to see. Thank you. Ode to Tomatoes after Neruda. Cookbooks lie open to 2 kinds of soup, tantalizing tomato and blue cheese soup, or cold and fresh gazpacho. Morning was spent dipping tomatoes in boiling water to loosen skins, feeling a thrill when the shiny peels split, chopping vegetables, roasting tomatoes, sauteing leek and carrot, pouring ingredients in the blender, thinking of Neruda's Ode to Tomatoes, how I am murdering them with knives, saving visceral fluids from dripping chunks, wetting them with peppers and basil, garlic, olive oil, and salt. And it's true how in their abundance they have taken over the tabletop encounters, among glasses, bowls, and plates, opulent profusion of crimson orbs next to a blue jar. The next ones will become spicy salsa full of dance and zing. Greedy to be eaten, they don't mind sacrifice. That bright little wedge is a smile. The seeds are laughter spilling out. The juice is joy. Thank you. So this summertime, I spent quite a bit of time over at Patricia Fiske's backyard, hanging out at the swimming pool, and I have this poem called Patricia's Backyard. Green swirls and ripples, blue and yellow reflections, quiet swimming pool. Floating on surface, undisturbed by this swimmer, wasp collects water. Over the treetops, high in cloudless blue expanse, soaring black vulture. Faded umbrella, same red as pomegranates, growing near the fence. Pampa grass flutters, banana leaves wave like flags, empty lawn chairs wait. In the still sunshine, cactus and terracotta pots sit on a wall. Squirrel high on a branch, pecan tree heavy with nuts, soft September breeze. This one is called Spot. Spot played with moths on the kitchen windowsill, where they battered against the glass seeking the light as I helped wash dinner dishes. His quick white paws, his black and white body, flicking tail. I brought him home from grandmother's after a litter of kittens emerged from under her house, along with a gray one for my brother that soon disappeared until my mother found him dead under a wash tub in the backyard where my brother had left him in play and forgot. Pets weren't neutered then as they are today, nor were they pampered and spoiled. They brought fleas in the house so they stayed outdoors, and nights echoed with yowling of alley cats who lived in backyards and wandered around like vagrants. Once we had a tomcat named Ace for the single spade shape on his forehead. He'd be gone for days and come home with torn ears and scarred up face. Finally he vanished. I guess we never knew his fate. But Spot was a gentler soul, more of a poet than a fighter. He hung around the flowers and watched butterflies. So it broke my heart when Daddy found him dead in the alley, strangled by the neighbor's mean Persian, a flat-faced bully with evil eyes. I was glad when Daddy finally said, "No more cats." I wanted a dog anyway. Thank you.
Forgot to mention Christine is a fabulous artist as well, and a fantastic tango dancer, and a really nice person too, you know? Which leads me to the next nice person whose backyard that poem was about, Patricia Fiske, whose memoir has written Things I Couldn't Tell My Children, but she did, which is very brave, has several books of poetry out, values sacred stones very highly, and has them from all over the world, has amazing abilities that you'd know about as a puppeteer, as one of the people involved in the early Hyde Park Theatre, and drama, probably a lot of Texas films too. Seeing that face, you will know Patricia Fiske, who is our next poet, and is fabulous. Well, that's a wild world, isn't it?
It's a wild, wild world.
I think I'm going to try to stand up this time. If you don't mind, I'll stand up right here, though. Can you hear me? Yes. Okay. Thank you, Jacob. I didn't realize I had this much time. I only brought 3 poems, so I thought I'd read one from the book that they're making called Goddess Gumbo. One goddess, one ingredient, ineffective. 2 get together, share, and misbehave. 3 can create a sauce more receptive. As group grows, a world it could save. Soon the mixture gets more delicious. Add a full moon and there are dangers. As goddesses' goulash gets capricious. Add more spices, beware all strangers. Goddesses blend their awesome power. Watch out, world, if you can stand heat, and if you savor soup, sweet and sour, enter our kitchen for a goddessy treat at a jambalaya jubilee with zesty brew, and we'll all be connected by spicy roux. This is a little more serious. And these are poems that I brought that I have not read in 15, 20 years. And I'd forgotten I wrote them. So I thought, well, there are a lot of people there that have heard a lot of my poems, so I'm going to get some that they haven't heard. This is called The Fortress. You ask me to tear down this fortress, these walls that protect my heart. Then tell me how to do that, please. I avoid that awful laser-like eye that would put world pain in my lap, show me starving children, war and abusive behavior of individuals, atrocities perpetrated by leaders. I avoid seeing it in grim, garish hues, but find it in my morning paper. New catchwords add to fear walls: Taliban, Jasper, nuclear testing. Helpless to change, I co-conspire. I sleep under quilts sewn by political prisoners in distant China, wear shoes crafted by children in impoverished third world hells. This vast village closes in on me. This surfeit of suffering suffocates. I dare not drop the drawbridge into my heart, lest global pain pounces, and I lose the ability to feel anything but apathy. Okay, lighter, let's go lighter. This is called Dim but Not Dead. The aging poet wondered why she was there. She loved the youthful energy of Coffee House, where all were welcome to tell their truth. She sympathized with youth's sexual exposés. Lately, though, she tired of passionate pubic poetry. Her hormonal hankering seemed like history. Until that night, as powerful as in her prime chemistry, she looked into a stranger's eyes, tug of war, his testosterone and her estrogen, or whatever might provoke that primal pool. Would she have courage to follow her urge, or settle for gratitude that it had happened? At least she thought, you should be told. Though libido dims at times, it never dies. Now it's out. I just want to give young people something to look forward to. Years ago, many years ago, they had a Sunday brunch at Manuel's. It was a jazz brunch. And I used to go faithfully because I love jazz. And this was, and I started writing a poem about each group that performed there. And this was the Mitch Watkins Trio. Even jazz can be lonely. Music from my youth, jazz days. Unless I forget, oh, those nights. Hormonal harmony at Birdland, improvising life with passion, taunting fantasies, memories. Today, I'm alone, still improvising. Jazz comforts me still, wears so well. Give me the 40s, big band beat, stomping at the Savoy, all Rudy. Prelude for a kiss, utter bliss. The set is over, and I am wired. Still improvising, alone, not lonely. Did I say jazz could be lonely? Jazz won't stand still for, or give the time of day to, or stay in the same room with, hey man, jazz won't even be seen with lonely. And that's about it. There is another one here. Do I have short time? Okay. This poem is from a book about the lantana. And I had separated from my husband and had moved to this place, and I had to mow my lawn with a push mower, and I saw this weed by the fence, and I decided to leave it there. It turned into be a beautiful lantana. And so I wrote a whole book. I have a whole chapbook on the lantana, and finally realized it was a metaphor for my life. But this is not about the lantana, but it's from that book. It's called Lone Sick. At last, sizzling summer simmered down. All the naked trees sport a golden crown. Bright, unbroken blue above, a hue I love. Air so crisp, no wind at all. It must be fall. My spirit lures me out to dig the dirt. Digging dirt can calm one's hurt. I've always found that true before I don my scrubbies and out the door, but no more. I sit stifled by walls where I merely rent my discontent. But across the river I own a home with a yard that's calling me to roam neath its shady dome to dig its loam. I'm lone sick for my home. Thank you.
It's right beside you.
Oh, thank you. Thanks.
Patricia Fiske. If you looked outside, you would have seen Club des Poètes, you would have seen Lyrics of Lebanon, and you would have seen Childhood in the Third Reich. 3 different countries, 3 different themes, same author. Very modest, very quiet, always working in the service of other people's poetry in the Poetry Society of Texas, particularly stimulating young people's poetry, which is where the front line always is, the future calls us. Please welcome up this amazing, wonderful poet, Kaye Abikhalid.
Thank you for having me. I'm happy to be here. I need to upgrade my resume first of all. There. Is that better?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Humility. I walk the widow's watch beneath the spheres of birds and angels, casting lonely glances into blowing winds, stubbornly longing, knowing there's no return. And I finally relent, admitting at last what reality has long determined. And I take off the wedding band that keeps me bound to his former existence, to insomnia, grief, despair, and my refusal of letting go. This life is now my own, feared decisions never again tempered by a husband's calming voice. And I always believed him then gladly, becalmed and at peace. It is time to lift up my dignity and walk with humility to his requiem. Thank you. The language of rocks. He walks around in my Caliche wildlife garden and sings in an undertone this morning's mass. And rocks listen and his eyes measure as he sings. He takes the pickaxe from his hiding place, cuts 2 rebars, picks up the 4-pound engineers, and returns to the chosen place where the rocks wait and listen. His eyes hold fast the rock. He swings the axe with leathery hands, lifts the stone plate. He collects small stones to bedrock the plate, and holding his breath, he settles it gently into a new step, while singing litany and praise to the one who made this earth. Rebars hold in a juniper trunk width and length of a man's arm. Baling wire fastened, he collects small rocks in perfect shape and size, fills and sets another step for climbing the steep hill behind the house. Priscilio sings and chooses his rocks that answer his need in weight and size, and they lie down before him, snug in true fit. Priscilio speaks the language of rocks, and rocks listen to his eyes and leathery hands, and hymns singing. We wait for rain, he says, and wait for settling, he says. This is my mother's fond remembrance. Berlin, 1929. Evenings when Senta Berger performed on stage, Berlin was at her feet. Dimly lit, a void loomed over the stage for what seemed minutes. She walked on like a cat, stood centered, motionless in a singular circle of light sublime. In measured stance, she approached footlights, casting enormous eyes like a trawler's net over the audience, they at the edge of their seats. She held them spellbound, this tiny person, floating in midair, voice rising in perfect diction, reaching the very last row without a single microphone, and hundreds drank in her words, mesmerized. Applause and foot stomping long after the final curtain. On stage, the great Senta Berger ruled Berlin. Off stage, her humility rendered her nearly invisible and aided her disappearance a few years later when the Führer took over the Reich. But in the hearts of Berliners, Senta Berger never left. The slow hum of bees. There were days of serene calm in the countryside of my youth, the sun drying the dewed morning, the air clear as glass, and the slow hum of bees gathering pollen, little yellow striped lambs, minding their business, collecting honeyed goodness. Lolling in tall grass, I watched their amblings, and I believed this tranquil world would never end. 75 years have passed, and here I am in second roots on my preferred continent in the 21st century, but stillness is no longer the norm. The world has changed in wars and volcanic eruptions, in droughts, floods, tornadoes, and the beloved perfect city is shrouded in dusty haze, a constant roar of distant traffic, a soaring overhead of commercial and private aircraft. Not a single bee is humming, not a single bird dares enter the noisy fray of our lives. Our once clean air is laden with exhaust, and mosquitoes en masse hide under leaves of Turk's cap and ivy, taking aim at my skin. We try to improve our perfect world. Just look how we have ruined it. Only in America is a legal citizen free to vote without threat of influence, without fear of reprisal. He can cast his vote for any candidate in any declared party prior to election. His vote is counted, his vote carries equal weight with all other votes cast, irrespective of his standing in his community. A legal citizen who votes his conscience need not fear harassment, intimidation, or bodily harm, or vengeance as he casts his very own vote according to his very own principles and beliefs. Only in America is a vote a free vote, counting as any other vote, and no one can take that away from him. Or can they? Band. 5 musicians feel their way around warm-ups. Dear folk audience, here to forget the day, drudge in, let me sit. Relax to sound anesthesia, do the backstroke and drown in Western song. Tuesdays, Tex Americana at Threadgill's. Barbara and her band, in boots and work shirts, strum stroke, drum and mandolin, fine-tuned fiddle, her voice gliding. She picks up speed. Like a moonlight shadow, the fiddler follows lyrics, strings pitter-patter, and she hands him the solo. He launches like a rocket. Song dreamers lift heads, straighten shoulders. Tap follow Richard Bowden's passion. And now he's ad-libbing, bow dancing, skidding, double timing the stomping of our feet to Tuesday night's Texas beat. The place is wide awake and swinging. November wedding. This wasn't your normal young couple's nuptial feast with both parties nervous and excited. This was her late, middle-aged third, his close to retirement second, a game, a show, a spoof. At the conclusion, he planted one on her that defied all I've seen, a munching bravura of a kiss in front of the grinning preacher, their own children and children's children, brothers, sisters, waiters, assembled friends, displayed, drawn out, mocked, paraded, bragged, without shame, profane, which said, as good as you. And over all this impertinence, a beautiful, sunny November day, warm and gentle, fanning moss-scented breezes through water oak and elm, an afternoon that makes you question winter, because there's a tinge of spring as promise in the air, except intruding were 2 old fools, center stage, mocking God. Okay, here's a little, am I too long? Okay. Moments. Precious are stolen moments of forbidden love, snatched from sullen heft of life's dull days, salvaged, surreptitious, concealed with care, tucked between pages of reflection, bundled nimbus, recalled rapture, lipped as exquisite wine.
Yes.
Oh, no. Okay. Let's see. I have a funny one. Dinner 2050. Oops, I get that later. So here I am, headset askew, right pupil focused to tiny internet screen on Google Glass. I'm ordering groceries. Right eye turning cameras, angles, scanning front door for groceries to untangle. Here's why. Husband's texting, important guests I handle. Let's have dinner for 7 at 6:10. I order the menu for delivery and it arrives in 15 minutes, but wasn't mine. Someone in Detroit is waiting for a luau, dancing in grass skirts, eating poi. I sent that on its way out. I'm my own slave, dusting and scanning, eyes rolling circles, shoulders pushing, remote, vacuum tote. This modern world has me hunching, stretching, my face a nervous tick. I have a crick, a chain and ball, head harness tight, oh my skull. I'll take extra St. John's, essence of rose and violet. I'm supposed to get dinner ready and I'll bet the whole bit candlelight and flowers are turning dull. First I ought to cook, but Hyperwave is still not humming. Groceries undelivered and guests are coming. Here's the deliver chute, dropping the items, crashing to the front. And the bird bath is splashing. Bread is wet, the eggs are mess. Quick to the rescue, out the door I run, right into security's ruse, risking the burglar net ceiling high. What's the code to declassify? Monitors are beeping and in keeping guests arrive on magnetized super rail and park. As my fingers stack and at Siri I bark, recipes into computer's nave, praying that auto calculation will be my save. Oh my, the 1990s, those slow old days, how I wish them back. Thank you.
Kaye has said too, if you would like a copy of her books, please help yourself. They're on the table out there. One from Lebanon, one from Nazi Germany, and one from Paris, all of which reflect parts of her life as her writing does. And, oh, here's some glasses.
Thank you. Oh,
Very
yeah.
welcome. I hope it was. On February the 5th, 2015, there will be a convoy from Austin to go up to Table Rock Poetry Festival, a one-night poetry festival held at the Table Rock Theatre, which is a magnificent community resource, brought into being by the two people sitting there, too cold for them, Denver and Jackie. Denver has retired from engineering 5 times, isn't it? And both of them are responsible for the library in Salado, the community centre in Salado, for keeping Salado legends alive for the last 20 years, which is an amazing adventure because it's in the Congress as one of the best community things. What it is the history of Salado done by the people of Salado for 20 years. So you have grandparents, parents and children, womb hatched to old creaking spider legs, all in the same play, passing it down the generations so that people learn their own history by enacting it. An astonishing work of art. Not just that, Fright Trail, Charles Dickens, all those other authors done in the guise of a Halloween trail. Not just that. Let's see. There's Salado Legends, there's Charles Dickens, there's, oh yes, the book in your hand, Cat Tales. Now, I think in its 7th year, we're extending beyond cats to dogs and all other creatures with tails. So if you are a rat, Chinese speaking, or if you are a horse, equus, then you are welcome to come on February 5th, 2015, with a long-winded introduction to a magnificent soul, Jackie Mills. That was you, Jackie.
First of all, I'm not a poet. I enjoy poetry, but I'm really not a poet. Let's see, where shall I start? Let's start with book number 5 that we put out. This is a poetry book that everyone comes from far and near, Bell County, to the adjoining counties and especially from Austin. And people come and write poetry, submit poetry, and we put it all together and have a poetry book, an anthology, which is a lot of fun. We've enjoyed it, and it's helped a lot of people. The school is involved. I have one of the teachers at school who's an English teacher, whose children were in the 4th grade play. For 11 years, I helped the children write in the 4th grade, write their own play. And it always had to be about the history of Salado. So for 11 years, these children have come back. Now they bring their children to see me. I feel so old. These kids I remember them little. So one of the teachers who had children in the 4th grade has helped me continue this by bringing all of those children together in the 8th grade now, which she teaches, and then in high school, which she teaches, and they submit their poetry, and so they are honored in all of the anthologies that we put together. Excuse me, I've got to get a Kleenex. There's one right there. Right there, Kleenex. So, I'm getting over a bad case of cedar fever, and my nose is running, my eyes are watering. I'm not contagious, I've had a shot. So anyway, the poetry that I have written has been put into these anthologies, but I've written very little poetry. I write a lot of songs, and when I wrote Salado Legends, I guess it's been about 24 years ago, it took me 9 months to write it. And because I wrote all the songs that went with it, and it was like having a baby. At the end of 9 months, we produced this play, and I could not believe that we really had done it. I had borrowed, you know, you've heard this expression, I had to borrow, beg, and steal. Well, I stopped short of stealing, but I did beg and borrow lights. We had no lights at Table Rock. We borrowed lights because I was on the board of directors at the Cultural Activity Center. So we borrowed their lights. And then we had no costumes, so I haunted Salvation Army and reworked costumes for the play. The play takes place in the 1850s. So it was all hoop skirts and pantaloons were at a premium. And no little girl went on the stage without a hoop skirt or her pantaloons. So there were costumes that I had to borrow, and I borrowed costumes from Baylor University because I had someone that I knew there. So I did beg and borrow. I was afraid people were going to run from me on the street. What does she want now? She's approaching me, you know. So you're shaking your head like you know what I'm talking about. So I want you to know that a lot of the lyrics that I wrote for songs, I wrote because I had written poetry before, but I really wasn't good at it. But the songs did suffice and were the one that I wrote that I thought would be they'd come away singing. It didn't happen. It was a different song that they came away singing. And Meet Me Tonight at Table Rock. and I can't write music, so I had to depend upon people to write the music for me out of the goodness of their heart. And I knew a lot of musicians, so that helped a lot. But one of the musicians said, especially this song, Meet Me Tonight at Table Rock, said, "I don't know what you want here, Jackie." I said, he lived about 3 blocks away. I said, "I'll be right over." So I grabbed a basketball, and I went over and I walked in the door. I said, "This is what I want. Meet me tonight at Table Rock." He said, "Got it." Boy, I didn't know it was that easy. I was amazed. But the songs went over, and that was the one that people go away singing. Some of you have been to Legends. What did you go away singing? Think about it a minute. Okay. Tom, what did you go away singing?
I like the whole thing, and it staggers me every time. Different ones get me every year. Like watch out for what you wish for. It's a very cautionary fable that always hits me. You might get it.
Be careful what you wish for.
That's right.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody else? Who else has been to Legends? Do you have a song? What song did you come away with?
This one is just wonderful songs. I remember the one about the boy and the girl meeting.
Oh, okay.
Singing that love song together.
All right. There were a couple in there that I wrote about that. A lot of people came away with the song that I wrote in poem, of course, and it was about a little boy who was in the play, and he was 5 years old, and he was just learned how to spit. And every time he turned around, that kid was spitting. And I was amazed that he had that much in him in the first place, but he was constantly spitting. So I went home and I wrote a song, and I thought, now this kid doesn't have a big part, but I'm going to give him a big part, and it's going to be the spitting song. and everybody loved it. Everybody, that kid made it. I worked with him for about 3 weeks, and he really, now he was 5 years old at the time. Now he's 6'3". He has graduated from college, but there's a kid that comes along every year that sings his spitting song, and people go away liking that one too. Tom mentioned the Fright Trail. Fright Trail, I stole that. I went to an outdoor drama conference in Ohio. In Ohio, there are people from all over the United States and Canada and Europe who are in the outdoor drama business and belong to the Institute of Outdoor Drama. And in Ohio, the woman that was running Blue Jacket, at that time, we always had our conferences in October. And so they had just started what they called the psychopath. It wasn't a trail, it was a path, and they called it the psychopath. So all of these people from all over the United States that just loved, all the people that came to the psychopath said, "Oh, can we do that? We want to do that too. Can we borrow that? And it's yours. Use it however you like." A lot of people went away and named it the psychopath. I wasn't that brazen. I did rename it, and I named it the Fright Trail. And we had a half-mile walking trail at Table Rock that I'd written a grant for from the Texas Parks and Wildlife. So we had a good path, a good trail, and I didn't want it gory. So I used all of the authors that had written very exciting, scary plays, and we have children, high school children, adults, and even elementary school children who are the guides who take the people from one scene to the other, and then other people are acting out that scene. The guides tell about the authors, and then when they get to the scene, there's a 3-minute scene from, say, Dracula. So I didn't tell those kids that they were getting an education. They wouldn't have come. So I just kind of tricked them, and they loved it. Well, I know I'm not supposed to take very long. I'll read you a few of the things that I've written, and I'm almost ashamed to in front of these good poets. But here's one, Spring. My daffodils sprouted green leaves, felt the cold and refused to bloom. The yellow cowards. The peach tree is poking out picture-perfect pink blossoms. The squirrels are excited. Will save me some. Our redbud tree caught fire overnight, ablaze with fragrant fuchsia flowers. The bees are frantic. The new red oak applied a tender bark. Cat sharpens his claws on the new find. Mine. Pecan trees are silently sleeping. They won't budge until after Easter, sleepy heads. Texas mesquites, wise beyond their years, wait and wait until the last frost is over, and then it's spring. Well, I don't like those. Here's one. Shadow Cat. On a new moon night, he appears, a black shadow of a cat. Jowls heavy with scars and eyes, oh, those green eyes that stare you down without a wink or a blink. He sits contently for a while on the edge of the porch as far as he can get away from the door, and still close enough to see through the sliding glass. There he waits. And he waits, and he waits. Bids to enter are ignored. Attempts to make friends refused. A step too close and he bolts. Patiently he stands till the glass door is shut, and then he resumes his lonely position. And there he waits, and he waits, and he waits. Does he not know she's gone? Can't he see her demise? Why do his knobby, notched ears not hear the deep silence? No more mewing pleas to sit by his side in solitude, and yet he waits, and he waits. Okay, now, and Tom and you Austin poets have come to Central Texas many times to help many people, Table Rock being one, but another one is in Belton. And Belton is full of poets too. Now, there's a woman who is leading the poets there in Belton, and Donna Bowling. And every week she gives the poets an assignment. And not too long ago, the teacher said, write using the word frugal. So everyone, I wasn't there that next week, and I didn't see what everyone had written. But I wrote one too, and never turned it in. But here it is. There once was a maiden of yore, intent on settling the score. She skipped all the way to a cave, passing a handsome young knave. The cave was dark and scary, tempting her to run, not to tarry. The cat dragon came out to meet her. Ah, smack! He intended to eat her. You barbecued my father, you meanie, as if he were just a mere weenie. I'm here to make a citizen's arrest. At your trial, I will accuse and attest. The cat dragon had a sense of humor and knew of the girl by rumor. He loudly laughed till he cried tears that puddled clear up to his ears. Treading water, the maiden cried, "Help!" The handsome knave heard her yell. Sword drawn, he charged the cat dragon. Swift flash, cat dragon's head was a wagon. Flailing and thrashing, the maid did plead, "Oh, brave knave, frugal me, frugal me." Swimming swiftly to her side, he saved her, and they lived happily ever after.
Brave soul. That's wonderful. Yes, we'll be going back up to Salado. Hang in there, folks. Our next person went through 3 snowstorms to get here, past 17 jackknife vehicles, went back to Lamesa 3 times and said, "No, I'm a poet, I can do anything." And made it with her son, driving this huge truck through the snowstorms from Lamesa in West Texas to make it here tonight. This is Connie Williams, who does Forest Fest every year. Last 14 years, here she is.
Oh, can I have my poster?
Certainly.
I'm going to read the poems from the poster. Do you have my poster? Do I need to leave this thing here? That's a mic. Hello? Hello? My voice is small. It's really small tonight. Yeah. I am so glad to be here. It was an adventure. Do we have a drummer? No drummer? Okay, I'm gonna sing. Emily, like a frog. This is, for a number of years I went to a gathering in Mendoza in the mountains, and I wrote this one night at the gathering before everything started. I am the first star of the nations, I of the dawning of all creation, spawning a new beginning. Fire in the night, logs brightly burning, sparks fly into the new day's turning, lighting the way from dawn to death. Circles gather at the dawning of a brand new moon, earth mothers might in tune. Circles gather, brother and sister, heart in hand, in balance with the land. Circles gather, brother and sister, circles gather, heart, hand and feather. It's cold and gray. The ravens are squawking in the yard, fighting over pecans. I turn the heater up. The thermostat is arguing with me. I think about calling the repairman for a tune-up. But it will be days before he will be here, knock on wood. Maybe it will last through winter. The cats are curled like hermit crabs in their imaginary cocoons, coiled against creeping humidity, cold air clipping down the continent. Soon the Arbor Day Foundation will send my trees 10 free ones, and I will try again to nurture the tiny saplings in their separate pots. I think of hibernating, but there's so much life to live I can't be still. If planes and trains and boats lived in my town, I would take one to the nearest city and sit in the bus station watching strangers on the road that I used to travel. Now I simply drive down the highway, passing hitchhikers I used to be, that I used to pick up, knowing those days are gone. One more for the road, my friends. I will see you in January when we celebrate all our wins and holding hands step into the circle that spins us into a future we can only imagine and love that has no end. And I have been working for an interminably long time on a memoir, a poet's memoir, whatever that is. I can't seem to get my publisher to approve anything, but this is a little bit of a prologue. Where did you learn to read like that? Several young women crowded around me, excitedly pumping questions at me. I am a poet, and on this day, I felt like a celebrity, and it was a bit intimidating. Even my professors were standing aside, nodding their heads at one another in agreement. Terry Dalrymple whispered something to me like, I didn't know you could do that. Then I knew I'd done a good job, and it had been my first poetry reading. I was at the Texas Association of Creative Writing Teachers Conference in Wimberley, Texas in 1994, having taken first place in their poetry competition and receiving the Sean Britton Memorial Award for Graduate Poetry. I would be published in their newsletter. Chris Ellery, my poetry professor, the one who had submitted my work to the Tatwick competition, smiled knowingly. All the rejection slips and years of writing poetry had finally landed on my doorstep. I did not know how to tell these young women how to do it. Everyone has to find their own path. The most important thing to me at that moment was not to let it go to my head, lest I lose the moment and the joy that accompanied it. How did I do it? I wonder to myself today, remembering the other often asked question that I get from people. Raymond Carver, my playwriting instructor at Angelo, asked me once, "What are you doing here?" He wondered why I was not at a larger, more sophisticated university, someplace other than West Texas. I told him I guessed I'd rather be a big fish in a little pond than a little fish in a big pond. My classmates who had left my hometown of La Mesa, Texas, the true hub of the West Texas South Plains, would ask me, "Why are you still in La Mesa?" People in La Mesa even asked me, "What are you doing in La Mesa?" When I would come back from being away, they would say, "Are you back here now?" They're curious because of my artistic leanings, writing, art, music, and dance. There is little to support those interests in La Mesa, Texas. One of the outlets in La Mesa for my artistic temperament was church. I used my musical interest and abilities to learn piano. I played for weddings, receptions, celebrations, but mostly for church. Although not usually a regular pianist for one particular church, I often filled in when someone was ill or on vacation. I didn't go to one particular church, probably from going to church with friends growing up who would not attend my church because their church was the one true church. I visited different churches every Sunday if I wanted to go with a friend. As an adult, I have been many things. But in La Mesa, I most often attended the Presbyterian church. It seemed to be the most liberal. Only one of their ministers came to visit me at my father's office where I worked, and he wanted me to be full-time at his church. As we visited, I told him that I liked attending different churches. It was the way I learned in worship. He said to me then, "Well, you're nothing but a religious tramp." And with that, he said his goodbyes and departed. It's not fun to think of yourself as being a tramp, even a religious one. The accusation transmitted to a larger body of insults my hometown had thrown at me over the years. One of them was slut, to be specific. However, Rush Limbaugh has relegated the word to mean intelligent, educated, and in charge of one's own body. But at 13, I had not learned this, and the word was out on me. I was labeled that. The balcony at the Palace Theater and the water fountains were reserved for only colored, with a sign and arrow directing African Americans upstairs. This is how it started. Betty Jo, my best friend, and I always sneaked into the balcony. We liked the lofty seating. That afternoon, there was a romantic film about a small town fall festival, much like La Mesa, where I grew up. The beautiful heroine volunteered in a kissing booth, and she got her man. My friend and I thought, what a clever idea. And we made signs that we put on our backs. Kisses, 25 cents. We wore them to school the next day. That did it. The boys were chasing us all over the playgrounds. And the girls, well, they started walking on the other side of the street when they saw us coming. We took money for kissing favors. We were 6th grade outcasts. Little girl, that word. I hated La Mesa, and I wished, oh how I wished we would move. I wanted to be back in Plainview, where I was born, with my grandmother and granddaddy, my cousins and aunts and uncles. I wanted to be near the trees in Pioneer Park. I was also ready to fight if anyone said that word again. When we went downtown shopping with our mothers, it was not hard for our moms to see what was going on. Don't look, Betty Jo's mother advised us. It's your imagination, my mother said in characteristic denial. I became uncertain of my perceptions. Just be yourself, she would say. I worked hard at being myself, which seemed to put me further away from the in crowd I so wanted to be part of. But I learned not to look when Pierce was scolding, or hear the painful gossip that my jealous classmates' bullying stemmed from. After all, my mother told me, it's just your imagination. Well, those catchwords, don't look, became the title of one of the group of poems that won the Tackwood Award for graduate poetry. Wasn't Will Rogers the one who said that a memoir should be about the things one might have done rather than the truth? But that's not what I'm going to do here. My purpose is to figure out how I became a poet and why I am still in La Mesa. I got just a second more. Okay. Well, early on I did submit. I married as a senior in high school, but inside I seethed against the post-human prototype I was becoming. I cut out the poems of E. E. Cummings, Carl Sandburg, A.E. Houseman, and tucked them neatly into a small pink satin heart that held my Valentine candies that year, next to Lawrence Ferlinghetti's Coney Island of the Mind. What a juxtaposition. I had an out-of-body experience while washing the dishes that afternoon. There were a mountain of them, and I hated it. I looked down on myself washing dishes and looking out the window at a sandy old hill on the farm where I lived, and I did not feel real. I did not understand that I was having a disassociative experience. The year was 1962, but as you will see, it will be 5 more years before I leave small town Texas. I could not foresee the coming wind that would teeter my swing set in 1967, or how I would climb to the top of it in spite of the warnings of my small town Texas community not to ruin my life. I mean, how does one ruin a life? It was a preposterous preponderance. Thus, standing tall on the crossbar of the swing set, I opened my arms to my beloved West Texas wind and flew. I want to stand on the rim of Rock Canyon and feel the wind tangling my hair to freedom. I want to feel the sting of the brown sand against my cheeks, making mud with tears only the West Texas wind can bring to my eyes. Thank you. Oh, yeah, a book. My book, Dancing Backwards in Texas. $10.
Good value.
At the counter.
Third week in April, National Poetry Month, is Forest Fest. How do you pronounce it? Quinceanera?
Quinceanera.
Yeah, it's 15 years.
Birthday party.
15 years of Forest Fest. How's that in West Texas? The wind comes, we plant a tree, wind blows the tree over. Plant another tree, wind blows it over. We're winning. Next person has been generous to almost every person in this room. Over 20 years at the Austin Chronicle. It's the only way you'd ever get a poem in a newspaper in Austin. And always there was that little invocation, which is on his birthday cake tonight, more poetry. And his generous and gregarious nature put out a book that I totally object to, The Secret Book of God, and he laughs all the way through it. And here he is, wonderful Rick Williams.
Thank you, Tom. Tom's been putting these together for how many years?
17 years.
17 years. Yeah, I worked for the Chronicle for almost 25 years, and I couldn't have done it without Tom constantly telling me which venues have closed, despite their unwillingness to tell me such, and which ones opened. But I left the Chronicle 2 years ago. I overcame my fear of dying unnoticed. I figured if I was in the Chronicle and I died, somebody noticed it. But I looked at those actuaries. Well, actually, I got married and moved to New Mexico, which was much better than writing for the Chronicle or dying. And I looked at the actuarial tables, and I figured, well, I'm 63 today. So today, and we share our birthday with Tolkien and Mel Gibson. Hey, we're good. So, looking at those actuarial tables, I figured, I have love, beauty. I'm gonna retire. Sure enough, within a year, I got cancer. It was wonderful. This is the comedy relief. You can laugh at that. All these poems I'm about to read are about cancer, having cancer. Don't freak out. The last PET scan showed I was free of cancer. Yay! But it was a hell of a, it was very interesting. Unfortunately, the day I was diagnosed was not a good day. But it does, you're gonna die. And so they were not very optimistic initially, but later they got optimistic, so it was fun. Yeah, getting cancer is fun. It's been a real hell of a year, but ultimately it was a blessing. Warm enough, hands on a sky of flesh. The old woman thumbs through a magazine. This dress was fitted for me 50 years ago, and this little jerk, who was he to claim haute couture? The oxygen tube is clear, her lipstick subtle pink, her hat western, black and white and delicate. Radiation patients only. No gown required if you wear a t-shirt. It takes 2 minutes, 5 days a week. The caretaker talks more after the nurse wheels the diva away. Every 15 minutes, a patient is called back through several corridors of institutional gray. You lie face up, mask bolted to the stainless steel table. A blue pillow placed under your knees. They aim the device at the red X's adjusted daily by a CT scan to match the targeted masses. They tell you exactly how the machine will turn. They leave the room. 10 minutes pass, and you breathe, slow, steady. Eventually, swallowing will be hard. Radiation burns swell inside your throat. The program, unable to differentiate cancer from, I'm fine, no thanks. Special lotion slathered on the neck, and aloe vera, and be sure to drink plenty of water. Take B complex and L-glutamine, though that's for the chemo. They will not let a healthy person in the waiting area unless the patient is bound to a wheelchair. To respect patients who are often in a state of undress, the gowns untie, slip off shoulders, reveal breasts and buttocks and genitalia. Shame is always an issue with untimely death. The social worker arranges yoga, acupuncture, cooking classes at half the usual price. Support groups for the more usual cancer types is also suggested. What stage are you, she asks. Not exactly sure what your stage 4A means with this type. You do not want to be a Pollyanna. Going to dark places is necessary in this, and it will get dark, but people make it. They are often surprised at how strong the flesh. Later, they will offer you a blanket, a warm blanket, she says, as you smile, not at all alone in the sea, swelling. Kites, 1. Or the thing hangs there, the broken kite, and nothing to be done about it. Maybe a bird finds use, pulls a string, a snatch of paper, sliver of wood, makes a nest of it. Everything useful given the time. But for now, it's a beard, a parasite, tattered reminder of what fell apart. 2. We need not rescue ourselves from failure. Let our losses see the sun. As uncomfortable as we are with shame, it does not free us from guilt or the payment. Separate wheat and chaff. The bird needs straw. We need to die to our flight from and to the sun. 3. Perhaps she is a bit dotty, sees things we cannot perceive, possesses peripheral vision into the gap among dimensions, hears angels plan their day, aborts black holes that would destroy our universe with kites she releases on the 17th day of each month. Perhaps she is one of the blessed, or perhaps you are, or the kite, the bird, the string, the nest, or perhaps this moment, dying to be replaced by another and another, each caught in a tangle, waiting to be pulled into your day. At 8:03, he writes 8:03, thinking 8:04. It is only that now, or was, and she did not say, and he did not say, but the time measures itself, us, against a mark we cannot circle round, as if a fire could ever wander into a river, or up to the moon with its blue hat and coat in a sense of the hour, the ladders of prophets and lovers and clowns. It's not true that it's 8 o'clock somewhere. She says we make it all up, and he's happy with that. Time and distance and the clockwork of dreaming ghosts, not into existence, but into the mouth of a poem, written in their kitchen, a turning hand on a wooden spoon, the boiling pot in a folding hand, a hand that holds everything. It is ready, and it is true that you are ready. Just say when. 2 walks. Pardon me. I pissed and shat myself today. The chemo and the drugs, all these treatments for side effects, collateral damage. In 20 years, it will seem so unnecessary, so barbaric, but it works. It has the present cachet of practicality, efficaciousness. 2 magpies in a cottonwood by the Santa Fe River. The waters run fast over stones, winding, then flattening, calmed by small meadows. Almost made it to the men's room. I am not embarrassed. To be humbled is a blessing. No one saw, no one heard, no one laughed. Save in the future, save me grinning now, and perhaps that means I need more humbling. If I were inclined to believe that magpies are bad luck, that a river you can leap is no river at all, that saving my life is not worth the walk. Sitting against a pink adobe wall, waiting for Helga to bring the car around, unable to walk the block, too dizzy, too fatigued, too lacking a willingness to put one foot in front of the other. I surrender wholly to full collapse. Imagine my father in Korea, the Marine Corps' retreat from frozen chosen reservoir. Not retreat, a strategic withdrawal. 40 miles through withering Chinese fire. A block. I cannot even make a block. The doc says I'm doing amazingly well. No pain, no feeding tube, no bad burning. She had run all the way home. I watch as the car backs into the street, turns, heads toward me, slows, stops, pulls ahead, circles so the passenger side is close. She guides me patiently into my seat. I lie still on the couch, drifting away, mouth full of radiation mucus. The computer is of no interest. I am not complaining of anything. There is nothing to report to the gods. Thunderstorms expected this afternoon. She wants to sleep late. I want more than rain. Dreams are a better predictor of fate. I heard it is best to let it all go. Release the notion of sovereignty. Submit to the red rawness of being. Beneath the belly of a terrible mountain, newborn elephants tremble, fall, and rise. Last one. Jealousy Cured. The name of the book that I will publish about this stuff is called Jealousy Cured, Cancer and Other Secret Matters. Jealousy Cured. I get jealous when she reads the American Poetry Review and says, "This is a good one, you should read it." And I say, okay, and then I don't. Because what if it just proves to me that I should take up car mechanics or the priesthood, focus on the stock market, bitch about Obama or childproof pill bottles? God damn it, I am an American. Ha, ha, ha. There it is. I get jealous thinking someone else has pissed on this already. No wonder we keep hearing God bless America. Maybe one day it will take. And when I read the damn poem, I will say, yes, it really is quite good. I wish I wrote as well as that. I think we'll renew the subscription. And I read this poem to her, and she says, it's good. You're exposing yourself in this poem. And I smile as she reads another one in APR and says, Christ, this guy gives me a headache. Thank you. Thank you, Tom. Very good.
As you've seen tonight, the people who have carved the way for us ahead have met the dragons and been able to continue their path. For instance, Tom Doyle, incredible Texas storyteller, who's doing the great American novel about UT and the scandals that no one knows about UT. Mr. Gilbert, is kidney stones and he's off in hospital. Sue Littleton from Buenos Aires sends her blessing and regrets that she can't make it today. Dr. Kathleen Hudson is on sabbatical leave in Mexico, writing about women in Texas music. It's a second book on that theme, but this time it's on the Tejana music, Tejana women and Tejana music as part of the great Texas widespread spectrum. But Farid was ill and he had to leave tonight, but he did give us the blessing of an astonishing performer, Robert Bingham. Robert has translated Hafiz and Rumi, and as well as Texas Guitars, Farid is known for bringing Robert Bly to common consciousness and Robert's other associates, but introducing America to the rich tradition of Persian music and poetry. And Robert is a wonderful exponent at this, so here's Robert Bingham and the spirit of Farid and the spirit of Persian music and poetry. Here he is.
Evening, everybody. Yeah, Farid got a little attack on the, he said it was the incense, but you know, I've got a bit of asthma myself, and some other people are coughing in here, and the allergy thing. So he had to leave, but really this is to honor him, not to honor me, and we've translated a number of poems together. Farid speaks Farsi, being from Iran, and I have a lot of training in poetry. I graduated from the University of Montana in poetry and short stories, and I've been down in Austin. Well, actually, we met in '83, so he and I have been friends for a long time, and we started out as roommates. I was interviewing him, and I was the Christian mystic, and he was the atheist, and we both agreed that everything was really screwed up in regular society. So we got along pretty well, actually, as it turns out. So anyway, spiritual poetry. So this is what it led us to. How many of you have read Rumi? That's what I thought. Okay, let's see. Coleman Barks. Am I all right here, or do I need to get near a mic? Thank you. Thank you. Farid has brought Coleman here, along with Robert Bly a couple of times, and we're very proud of him for that. It was a definite blessing for the poetry community. This one's by Rumi, and it's called O Tribes of Pilgrims. O Tribes of Pilgrims. These are spiritual poems. I think it's appropriate here in the Baha'i Center that we would be addressing God. And actually, every line is addressed to God. It's addressed to us, it's addressed to other people, but it's really addressed to God. O tribes of pilgrims, where are you? Where are you going? The lover is here. Here, come. Your lover lives next door in the adjoining apartment. Why are you wandering confused in the middle of the Sahara? Only by staring into the face of the lover who has no face can you become the one, the house, and the gilded temple. Having been 10 times over on that road to some distant holy place, just for once, come to yourself and sit peacefully on the roof of your own house. A miraculous dwelling that you have been given many signs of. Now, let's get acquainted with the maker of the house. Produce a handful of flowers if you've actually been to his garden.
Show me a blossom full of life if you understand God. Let all this hard work fill your treasury. How pathetic it is when we forget about our own joy. And we've done quite a bit of Hafez also. Hafez had to leave because his father was a diplomat, was big in the kingdom, and then they got invaded from the north, and they had to go to Turkey. So Shiraz is in Iran, it was Persia at the time, and so he was always thinking about, he was thinking about Shiraz, even though he wasn't there. I think it's a particularly beautiful poem in the light of, I know Fareed and Coleman and Robert all went to Iran, and they were presented with awards by the literary community there, it's a really beautiful thing when you think about how much they are considered to be our enemy, but they really are real people with a wonderful culture. In fact, our mathematics and science and so much of our literature comes from there, really. How wonderful and unique is Shiraz. Oh my God, keep it safe. For in its incredible loveliness are so many signs of you. Yet, what gives her such an inspired holiness that over those simple neighborhoods should drift such a delightful wind? Transfixed by an amazing northern aroma, come to Shiraz to smell the brightness of Jesus' breath. Then ask of those enlightened people, who would import dazzling sweetness to Shiraz when it's already arrived, bursting from your mouths? Hey you, my old friend, the northern wind, what news have you brought me? How are those wildly drunken and happy people? And don't try to wake me up, for God's sake. Well, I'm having such a wonderful time in my dreams. For even if their sweet lips should suddenly cry out for my blood, oh my heart, forgive all those who curse you. Hafez, if you're so afraid of separation, why didn't you cherish the closeness you always knew? Now, in Sufi literature, we run into the bar quite a bit, the tavern. And really, in Middle East, it's very the spirit of is Texas nafas. Nafas is spirit in Sufi. And so, here we go. Come to the tavern with us. Really what it means is come to the meeting, come to the spiritual meeting. It's code in some ways, okay? So, let's see. There's often, Sahi is mentioned here. Sahi is the messenger. He's the messenger who brings the wine. He's the wine bearer, okay? And you probably understand the importance of the wine bearer to the king in Persia, as it's mentioned in the Bible several times. Come to the tavern with us. Come, let's go spread flowery pollen and pour new wine from the golden pitcher. Let's rip open the ceiling of the cosmos and create a whole new design. Then, by dropping rose water into the scarlet cup, we can even perfume the whirling breeze with incredible sweetness. For if sadness should raise an army to shed the lover's blood, Sahi and I will unite to uproot him. Well, it's in your hands to do good. Musicians, play us a divine tune so everyone can stop, so everyone can immediately start stomping and clapping. If you want to find heaven, come to the tavern with us. From the base of your winecraft, we will lift you all the way to the pool of Eden. Some think they're smart. Others just talk big. Come, let's take these judgments to the real judge. Then if good talking and good singing don't work that well in Shiraz, oh well, Hafez, let's find somewhere where it does. I think it's wonderful, the sense of humor. 1,000 years ago, these poems were written. I believe 13th century. And actually, they're separated. I don't think they ever met each other. Rumi and Hafez, they're separated by about 100 years. I wanted to read one here that I wrote for Reed. And it's written in the same style. These are ghazals, and they're usually about 16 lines. They can vary quite a bit, but and they're written in couplets. Robert Bly believes that it's better to translate these, and as opposed to the way that Reed and I translate. Robert translates in triplets. Okay, he takes the 2 lines of the ghazal and he comes out with 3. Well, that's kind of followed his lead in this poem, and this is for Reed. We've had a really wonderful time sharing this poetry, and he was part of his culture, and actually their songs. These were all have tunes to them, right? If you were to go to Iran, the music would be played along with them. Anyway, Jefferson was right. I'm particularly fond of Jefferson. I know the atheists claim him, but he also has the Jeffersonian Bible, which was Christ's words by his bedside, which he read every morning and every evening. So he doesn't seem like a very good atheist to me, but anyway. Jefferson was right. One touch of the hammer, and we think the whole world is secure. Afghanistan, Iraq. One touch of the hammer, and we think that the whole world is secure, when in fact, all nail holes lead into darkness. For Jesus himself was raised a carpenter, well acquainted with iron spikes, long before they were driven deep into his hands and feet. So the beaver has no use for finished lumber, but loves to chew on the rough bark of leaning trees ready to fall into moving water. While we struggle to ignore the importance of things that cannot easily swim or float and gaze into the gathering storm. Because Jefferson was right to resist Hamilton to his face, spending all his wealth long before he died, knowing he had but a short time left to go before the seeds of all that he had planted would rise up to face the petulant dawn. Thank you.
For Farid Mohammadi, for all the wisdom of Persian literature, Hafiz, Rumi, Layla, Mirabai, you name them, Kabir, and the anonymous ones who sing the song of all of us. Now, you may wonder why it is that Expressions has this particular format tonight, which is different to all others. The answer is we're working with Austin Quantum Artists, which is offspring of Optimus Anonymous, which is, of course, part of all of us. We like to treasure the illusion that things might get better. So, and the only way you can do it is to do it. So here's Pete Seibert to explain exactly what I just said.
Tom's been handing these out. They're a page of your poetry, the things that he asked for in the bios. They're going to become a part of a 40-page book that will have, and it's in the same format, but you actually have a poster of your page. In October, a group of poets met. How do we recognize and honor persons like yourself who have set the stage for others? It seems to me that's a sign of maturity. Art is not about me, it's about us. Its highest purpose is to pull us together. to unite us. The great religious art, the great atheist art, are those symbols that make us one. And so the moon is in full tonight. But the one who brought us all together is running around in this room. He is a phenomenon like none of us. We are little slices of something like him. One other thing I want you to do tonight, I want you to sign. I have another copy of your page. I want you to sign it, and I want to give it to him. There are also a group of people who are raising the money to buy and make this happen so that you can have a copy of the whole book and get to know even yourselves even better by looking in the mirror at other people who are in your community who are saying, we live in something wonderful and special. We ourselves have more beauty than we can contain. What a wonder it is. Thank you, Tom. Come here for a moment. Just a moment.
You have to go up there.
Just a moment. That's all it is. It is expressions that go on and on and on. Elsie Cogswell said it best. Tom, what's next?
And the answer, my friends, we've turned up the heat and the potluck is on, so we can talk to each other, then come back for the round robin, which is magical. Every person gets to say something. That means even the quiet people sitting pretend to be a chair down the back. So let's eat, drink, and be merry, because Mary don't mind.
And Dora Robinson back here created those stones.
This way you get to do more than one, see, you do one, and then, when the others come, you get another one. Here they come on, we're starting with our
People are hungry tonight.
I know, but it's cold weather.
They're ravenous.
It's all right. We've got food
in
for 'em.
here, you can't do that with it.
Come on, Phillip, we got food. I'll shut up now. Ready?
Okay. I was listening to the radio over Christmas,
Yes.
and I heard Ave Maria,
Okay.
and it reminded me that I had developed a song with the tune of Ave Maria that I had forgotten about completely.
Oh, good.
So I'd like resurrect her.
Right, resurrect Ave.
Come, O thou healing power, enter my life. I long to know thy peace, thy power in every day and every hour. Thou art my healing power. Come dwell with me, walk with me down my path. Stay with me through the night. Wake with me at dawn. Enter my workplace, be with me every hour. Be my fingers as I write, move my lips to speak, shine from my eyes as long, be my arms that hold and love. Come, O thou healing power, enter my life. I long to know thy peace, thy power in every day and every hour. Thou art my healing power. Come dwell with me, walk with me down my path.
Beautiful. Thank you.
called The Hill. It's the sort of the title poem of the trilogy Daffodil Hill, of which there are 6 parts, and counting. Static, stoic, winter, summer the same, no pain. Stream meanders past more or less. Water or ice, the tiny waterfall chuckles perpetually. I saw the ice ages pass. That was a time when the valley formed and I first met the stream. They come to play and swim on what they call the warmer days, or to walk when it is cooler. I see no difference, warm or cool, except the hardness of water which sometimes breaks another chip from an exposed rocky surface. No matter, I have many to spare. I hardly notice, and they come and go, too hurried, too fleeting, all the same, except one who has made me what you see today. None of my brothers has this springtime curse of yellow. They never mention it, but they know. Each autumn he comes, bores into me and buries a bulb or more, living seed of my shame, my difference. I have to be concerned about the salt he leaves, a few drops with each bulb. It cannot be good for my natural grass. He sits. I suppose he thinks. He looks to the sky and down to where the ground is more even. Finally to the stream. What can it be that makes one of these frantic creatures stop, even for a few moments? And then he leaves, but returns in the spring.
This is voluntary, folks. It's round robin to just get up and do a poem or song and sit down next to us. It's absolutely easy.
Why did it start so early?
Because this is a very short time before we have to die.
Oh, damn. Okay.
Because everyone is hungry. They want to be in there munching. Okay. Well, I've had a kind of a strange last 6 months with bureaucratic things. I'm afraid that I did have a moving violation. I was speeding a little bit. I know. In a school zone yet. Just a little bit, but they caught me. So I paid the fine, and then I found out almost too late that I also needed to take the driving class with about a week to spare. I finally took that. And at the same time, my driver's license was up for renewal, and it seemed like it was never going to come, and I started to leave the house to go down to the Department of Public Safety and find out why my driver's license hadn't come yet in the mail, and my temporary one had already expired. And as I was going out, I checked the mail, and I got a letter from the Social Security Administration saying that they were not going to pay me my Social Security starting in December, which actually meant the January check. So just all these things were happening at once. I got that straightened out, and then I called DPS, and they said that they would mail me another driver's license, and they eventually did. But just it gets you thinking about people who lose their identities and who lose their wherewithal to live life. And I wrote this poem called Identity. Is this the winter of our discontent? It is certainly the winter of our disconcerting. But all is well now as far as we can see, although we do see how easy it is to lose the underpinnings of modern civilization and to doubt the very validity of the self. Are we driver's license, social security card, passport, birth certificate, bank account? Without our paperwork, do we even exist? Were we ever just anonymous, standalone, unquantified, unauthorized human beings? Will we ever again be nothing but just us, creatures of the world, people unbound, without borders, walls, restraints, or labels? Or are we flies caught in the web of the grid? Just something to think about. Oh, yes. Oh, now that we have an audience here, tomorrow is the monthly open mic at Recycled Reads, 5335 Burnett Road from 3:30 to 5:30. You can come a little bit early and sign up if you like. And I'm hosting, and we'll have a lot of fun as we do every month. And last month, we also had the Recycled Reads holiday open house, and we had many Austin poets there, some of whom are in this very room. And we went for 6 hours that day. And it was exhausting but fun. And I hope that many of you, if not all of you, can come tomorrow at Recycled Reads. Thank you.
I'm gonna read this poem. It's one of the poems, like I said, I write late at night after watching Alfred Hitchcock movie. And it's titled Pretty Blackbird. Deep into the darkness, there is a pair of eyes peering. Standing in the woods, a late visitor enters the chamber for the clearing. The silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no clue. And the only word that was spoken was a whisper in view. An echo murmured at the chamber's door as the wind began to holler, and there was nothing more. The raven, the ebony bird, was such a name called nevermore, standing by the grave after wandering in from the mighty shore. Though this answer a little meaning, the raven is still king, the fowl whose fiery eyes burn into the tree trunk rings, a soul floating from out of the shadow during the moonlight, the raven's eyes perched on his prey in sight. Thank you.
That was Birdman.
Yeah.
My name is Jack. Tom calls me Magic Jack.
Because he is.
I don't know why. This is my existential piece that I pull out when I'm talking about things like that. The past, what good is it? The past reveals, discovers, informs, sometimes is transforming as perception allows new views, revelation, and metanoia. The heart, once closed, now open, sees the same things, but understands them more fully. Using new eyes and new wisdom, not fearing the journey back nor the journey forward, accepting what is past, it didn't last, nor should it. There is only the eternal now. The past only served to bring us to the present somehow. The past, so troublesome for so many, like loaded hopper cars of coal. We lug along, dragging it, never quite free of the weight. The past is hell and heaven, just like the present moment. It didn't last, nor should it. There's only now and always now. The past only served to bring it to us in the present somehow. The past is heaven and hell, just like the present moment. Thank you.
I'm waiting for someone else.
Maria's coming. Someone's coming.
Oh. What's that play you've got on?
That play I've got going, huh?
Yeah,
Hey,
got,
January 18th, Bookwoman, 3:30. Yeah.
What's it called?
It's called Letters to Hestia, and it's a healing play.
Who's in it?
Okay. Herman Nelson, Susan Summers, Gordon McGill, Dana McBride, and who have I forgotten?
Boy.
Oh, Nano Boy Novel, a new one to Austin, and she is a force to be reckoned with.
Excellent.
Yes. And me, I'm in it too. Okay, let's see.
And it's your play.
And it's my play. I've been writing it. I started writing it in 1981.
Wow.
I wrote the middle of it, and then it got bigger on both sides and all around.
What time?
It's at 3:30 at Bookwoman, and it's by donation that will go to Safe Place. This is a play about healing from war and rape and the violence. Okay, this is called Mandala Magic. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down. Under the moon, the stars and the sun. It's you and it's me and it's everyone. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down. Like a wheel going fast and slow, singing as above, so below. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down, centering air, land, fire, and sea, a cosmic world in harmony. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down, flowers and blossoms and a potter's wheel, bird nests and spider webs can heal. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down. The face of a clock in the place of our dreams is the same for a pauper, king, or a queen. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down. The four directions of heaven and earth, like yin and yang and death and birth. Mandala magic goes round and round, inner and outer and up and down. Under the moon, the stars and the sun. It's you, and it's me, and it's everyone.
My name's Rain, and I generally have a musical instrument I play when I sing my poems, but I shall get by today. This one hasn't quite found a finished melody, so it's a war song. War haunts the barracks of my mind. Cold breath settles in, tormenting the sensation of life. Hearts divided, peace subsides, as pain presides in the dark mind. Brothers portrayed as enemies, fear brokered for the procession of the ego. Life snuffed, violence kindled, as animals act out the whims of the lower mind. Rulers of the dead raise their sepulchres, urging the unborn to descend, vent rage against change, lower the common denominator, follow the dictates of the fettered mind, embrace the face of death. Meanwhile, peace flows above and below the ego instinct, neglected yet aware, hidden yet a breath away, familiar paths restricted by societal demands. Wake up, pay attention, be aware, it whispers, yet the path is set, history has its way, as easy stories continue to flow along the same paths. The past brokers the future, till chance, grace, luck opens a new highway. A glance offered to all, yet subscribed to by few. When will the many be ready? When will the choice be made? The future is not in the past. Open the present. Be here now, in the now moment of creation.
Up this wonderful flow to rejoice in the fact that John Berry made it. Yeah. Hey! Well, what's your poetry on time? The world isn't it? So I now welcome up one of the founders of the Poetry Festival, who keeps the venue alive with other people at Barnes & Noble in the Arboretum, who is a spectacular poet, a structured poet, and he can rhyme as well. John Berry, show him out. Show him out. It's John Berry.
I didn't intend anybody should be later because of my late arrival. Well, I'm doing nothing since, except it's something I wrote since I decided to celebrate the solstice this year. I wrote 2 solstice carols with recognizable tunes, but I stole another tune, and this is the one I'll sing. She has come again. She has come again. She has come again today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe she has come again today. She is earth and sky. She is earth and sky. She is earth and sky today. Oh, deep in my heart, I do believe she is you and I today. I'm in the Latin voice, so I'll let's see. Let's try another. I am a woods dwindling to a copse. My leaves by the autumn wind fly like sparks from a camping fire rising. Where they will fall, I do not know. If another fire catches, let it not be a wild inferno, but let it be a warming love. My leaves are poem, whole trees of them. Most are brown, but some red and even gold. The best she'll keep as piney green alive. We can hope for no more than this. She doesn't always whisper in her ears. I did not just record her words. The least of my lines I had to make up myself. I have 2 that I finished today. This is one of them. This one is called Used to Love. Goddess, I got used to love. It was 37 years ago she chose me. She chose me as a poet deliberately. As a poet, I chose her against the numbers, and when she needed care, I gave it. Use it or lose it, and so I lost it, but a prescription gives it back. Where lightning strikes, it usually repeats. I courted poetesses, but each of them chose their art first And so would I. I cannot fault that when I do the same. So here am I, naked even of my skin. Find me a mate, I need you for my muse. I want you physically present in love, for you have made me used to love. In return, I offer you more, happier, and better poems. I promise to go where poetry happens, not hide from pain. I promise to celebrate natural joy when I see it. And I promise to rewrite even the least verse and to memorize the best lines when I weed my garden. Let's not do that one. Some of you may have heard this one. I know some of you have, as a matter of fact. It's called Someday. Someday, if someday comes, we'll show each other our clutter, all the disorder in which we live, each unapologetic and willing to merge, if 1 + 1 can equal 1. If someday comes someday, giving back enjoyment of cooking, a gift, no chore, each to the other. Not snoring alone, but in harmony. If you don't snore, I'll teach you. If someday comes, it will have all opposite results. There will be joy, be pain, be weariness, loss, and gain. There will be dry wind and soaking rain. Okay, the two I finished today. Wild-hearted. Together, only since farming came. My cat is wild at heart, and I am too. No masters here, we are allied. She is goddess, I am demigod. Born half mortal, sired by mortal man. I'll bear no name except my mother gave. I had a marriage so upon a time, more an alliance than a union, as we vowed. Alone now I stand open to all joy, so do the same, that joy may multiply. As I am tomcat, surely you are queen. Together we will change the world. Dark Christmas. The dawn was overcast and dark, of rising sun, no single spark. No tree of light, no babe to bless. In this dark world, no merriness. In sadness is remembered joy, together made a strong alloy to bear all sorrow's heavy weight and heap more joy upon the plate. As nature often echoes art, the darkling clouds begin to part. A single beam shines from the east and gives light enough to feast.
Thank you for making it, John. Thank you for making it.
Well, it was a risk.
And now, round robin, the next person is unknown.
I come up.
Oh, okay.
this was a joke I said to myself earlier, so I'm gonna say it because it sort of makes sense and it's just the right thing to do. Permission to speak freely, Captain?
Ask the temple.
Thank you. Okay. Also, it's a heads up. For the last 3 years now, I've been making everything up as I go along on stage, and I'm noticing some certain patterns. I used to move around all over the place, and it was horrible for the sound quality. So I stopped doing it. I started sitting down. I've noticed another pattern. Toward the end, it appears as if I step back, but it's not really me stopping. So I'll sort of tell y'all when I'm stopping. That might be better. I'm ready to admit it. I'm ready to admit that I have been the one, and I've been going years saying, no, this spirit moved me, I was just a channel, I was just somebody else's voice. In this moment, I'm ready to admit that it has been me writing all those poems all those years. It has been me saying all those things at those open mics, making things up at the spot. So I need to accept that. I love making things up. I love making things up. I love making things up with people. I love making things up at the moment I'm making them. And there's a poem inside me, and it reminds me of what they say about you were only a glint in your father's eye. For several days now, there's been a gestating image and a gestating idea. And in the last 24 hours, it was given an image. A long time ago, I saw my son stand in front of our house. And my ex-wife, then what became my ex-wife, was standing next to him. And he took a tree. Well, it looked like a tree. It was 4 or 5 feet tall. And he got down by his hands and he grabbed the root of the tree and tried to pull it up. And I'm sitting there going, he can't do that. He's not old enough or big enough to do that. It's impossible. It is impossible. My wife said, no, he can do it if he's strong enough. He puts his mind to it. And I want, each time I get on stage and each time I'm in front of people or each time I'm with people, I want to make the best memory I can possibly make. Knowing full well that tomorrow, as I'm bumbling around my apartment solo, I'll be haunted by the idea that I had a great time last night. So the days go around, man, I had such a great time at Kick Butt. I had so much fun. How come I'm not there now? And I don't care. I want to make a great memory tonight. And I've heard people talk about if you imagine, you can imagine whatever you want to imagine. And tonight I want to imagine I'm a painter. Because I want to use it to explain that unless I'm daft is the truth. So I take out my reds, and I take out my yellows, and I take out my blues, and I take out my greens, because that happened to be the painting I wanted to paint tonight. And with large, enormous brush strokes, I paint a huge blue sky, the kind you see in Arizona, in Phoenix or Tucson or wherever. And on the ground, it's the Texas sagebrush, just wild, random brush, the hill country not 40 miles from here out west of us, which I just adore. And it's green and it's bubbly and prickly, because life is prickly. All the while in my mind is I'm aware of things that are painful and suffering, like my own suffering, like everybody else's suffering. And yet I'm inspired by the fact that tonight is about people who found their way to turn that personal into a social experience and not only better themselves, but better other people by it. To me, that's the mantra of the evening. So I take my yellows and paint a beautiful yellow sun or a yellow light, yellow sun. And in the smallest brush I can find, I dapple on tiny little red flowers. And maybe that's what people are, is these tiny little red flowers on this beautiful tundra or whatever I've created. I say that because once I have taken my green, or I've taken my yellow and my blue and blended them together and turned them into the exact shade of green I wanted them to be, I can no longer pull them apart. Paints that have been mixed like our lives tonight and over the course of the next millennia or whatever, we're weaving our paints together and to paint a beautiful picture of our thing called life. And we've been doing it for, as far as I can tell, forever. And we'll do it forever. Some of us, red flowers, will burst and disappear and fall to the ground. But there will be something of us, this we, this you, this I, and in the middle of which is the they, that will continue on because something called we wants to continue. Whether I cease to exist or not is irrelevant. And I see people sometimes, I read about people, I'm a Facebook user and it's disturbing. And I hear about horror and women being beat. I wonder if there is not something attempting to separate paints which in fact cannot be separated. So I want to continue painting my painting. I want to make a beautiful picture. I want to make a beautiful thing. I want to make something people remember and they can leave this place, this holy, holy place where on a special night where people gather together to share their social being and say, this is my heart, this is my open honesty. I love making things up, and I love making things up with people because this is not one person making a moment up. It's everybody who ever walked into an HEB and shared time in an HEB. None of them were isolated. None of them were one flower on a bush. They were all in a community. But I feel privileged enough to be in a community, and earlier I was thinking it reminds me, and it makes me wonder, of all those established religions and established churches, has in fact the longest running one been that of the community of poets? I don't know a single poet who said, I quit. Any poet who has ever started writing poetry continues to write poetry and continues to write poetry and continues to write poetry. And pretty soon they're not only writing poetry for themselves, but they're helping other people write it too. I thank you all for listening and giving me an opportunity to do what I love to do. I hope it's helped and given you something to think about. Peace.
Okay, I think I'll take a seat. It's convenient here. I feel I have to say that I haven't written any poetry for about the last 10 years. I think I might have given it up. But I can still read it. And this is when I decided I'd give it a shot because somebody mentioned ravens a while ago. So it's a bit unseasonal, but what the heck. It's called Ill Met by Moonlight. It's a really awful title, but through a night that seemed eternal, plagued by processes infernal, through the mists of random snatches, memories that went before, vibrant times of gallant sunshine, wine and meals and miles of coastline, shattered by a voice that echoed down the cursed corridor. Go to baggage counter 4. Though the way was dark and dreary, and their limbs were getting weary, crowds set off. A ragged serpent dragged across the polished floor. Already someone was complaining, will it ever be plain sailing to recover all the knickknacks bought within that beachfront store? Where is baggage counter 4? Lifts were out, the walkways still, and the air was getting chill, but still the corps pressed on relentless in its quest for counter 4. Some swore, sweeping on like cattle, soft beneath their footsteps rattle, bugles played a plaintive tune that ended on a minor chord. Counter 3 and nothing more. night filled the dingy halls, fell grey upon the shuttered walls where many a slice of pizza and McDonald's had been seen before. Someone asked a lone attendant, in his uniform resplendent, where to find this counter for. He smiled and sent them down once more a corridor they'd seen before. And planes still leave from every gate, some on time and others late, while X-ray booths help capture evil terrorists with bombs in drawers. There's not just terrorists to fear. On quiet moments you might hear footsteps cross the vacant patch of highly polished corridor, searching still for counter 4.
Back again because
I'm sorry.
Sorry. Because of the bird poems. I have a bird poem too. It's a grackle poem. Thirsty bird. A grackle sips from a puddle under my car in a hot parking lot. I watch her tip her beak down, then her long neck up, a smooth, elegant gesture. When I draw nearer, she doesn't fly, but takes a skip and fluttering leap to the shade of another car. I am pierced by her yellow eye. You know how they have that yellow?
What's that?
You're right. Watch tails.
You were almost pierced.
Sorry. What we got? Red, yellow,
I guess I'll read a short one right quick. I guess since I started with the bird poem, I'll just keep it going.
What's the mic?
Yes. This one here is titled Broken Wings, excuse me. A bird whose wing was broken fell from grace on my windowsill. He tried to fly away. His beaten wings fluttered to lift him high. He fell back to the ground. He stopped and hopped again. Then he hid amongst the undergrowth as he hopped away for fear he wouldn't last. For birds who cannot fly are usually doomed to die. Thank you.
All right, fine.
Yeah.
Hey.
Mom was there.
Uh-oh.
Numbers are not infinite. They do not exist outside of physical reality any more than the soul does. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
I'm an empiricist, like my dad.
Apparently.
Therefore, prime's bigger than that which can be representable within the limits of information and the speed of light and matter to represent it do not exist. Therefore, infinity equals 0. And 1 plus the largest integer equals 0. Once we determine the largest integer possible, then we just add 1. But you won't be able to, because there won't be enough electrons. But if we assume 0, therefore, is an insanely large number, and not the absence of something, then we're assuming that 1 of something is really 2 plus the largest number, and not the absence of something. Due to the presence of infinite parallel universes and everything being twinned within the same universe, which is supersymmetry. Knowing supersymmetry, then we just slingshot ourselves by making a self-referential time frame. Stargates.
What's your name?
I'm John.
Thank you, John.
Rise up, poets. Life is short, about 4.6 inches. Try another one. I hope so.
What's the wires?
Why don't we get close to the front? It'll be great after a while.
Yes. Another beauty divine. If days were nights and nights were days, I'd think of you in the quantum haze. Transcending light and dark, you are my sense of part. At the end of time, nothing could be more divine than pondering the best of life, forever shuffling the joy to be. Eternity enters into mind as I accept fate divine. Life unfolds through an hourglass. An illusion is not a path. Entry to everlasting and present tense. Life is its precedence. Now occurs the incidents. Must I adjust to mind, death, or shall it be my flesh? Mind encumbered by hatred sanctified. Feelings chosen like lighter hosen. Lift your heart, be a part of beauty divine.
Here's Ralph. Ralph does share your stories on the third Friday of every month. Get back nostalgia. He continues it from 1 to 3 at Twin Oaks Library. You just come along and spin a yarn. And I'll spin it later.
Yeah, the star of our little group is Tom Doyle, who's doing that book about Leslie. I really am keeping my fingers crossed that he's going to find a publisher for it.
Yeah.
My strings will now address your strings. The place that will be desert. Bravely thrusting from the ground, the windmill pumps out water for a gang of thirsty shorthorns, irrigates the kitchen garden destined to become a desert floor. In months of drought, we preview nature's plan for us. One day the desert will arrive and stay, surely as the summer winds that chase the winter northers from our hills. Soil, already thin, will dry and blow away. Ocotillo grow where primrose blooms. It's not God that's mad at us, but nature working through the eons as it always has, like little mice, taking a nip here, a nip there, hardly noticed, but in the end, eating like kings.
Oh, that's how it is. We've got a piano that works. We have a pianist who works.
Yes.
Here's Jackie Mills, Salado Legends. Take her up Poetry Festival. Fright Trail.
Fright Trail.
Yes.
This one is called Tom and the Austin Cats.
Whoa.
Tom and the cats keep the road hot, traveling with poetry to Temple, Salado, Kerrville, Lamesa, and the lot. Their gas bill is huge. They know the best places to rest. And for eats on the road, just where more is less. They're greeted with glee, Austin's best will agree, while doors open wide as hosts, starry-eyed, entreat the bards that be. Not a soul in sight is closed-mouthed by fright, but overjoyed for the bid to recollect and indulge as poetry and prose fill the air. The evenings filled to the brim with rhyme and whim, thoughts to compare and eager to share be the goal. Happiness abounds tonight. Keep it going forever, don't quit. We poetry challenged admirers need your wit. You are the spark that ignites us, you glorious Austin bards.
Hey, bards. Hey, bards. It's Patricia Fiske.
Oh no.
No, it's scary.
I'll read one more.
Sure. Before you go, I've got one for you.
You leaving?
Right, yeah, we got to do one for her.
Oh, I did 3 on 4.
I know.
This one here, this is more of a rhyming poem that I did. It's short, like all my poems. Birdman 313, for those who don't know, I have 4 poetry books, 3 chapbooks. I have my own mobile phone app, which is called Birdman 313.
And he's featured in April, which is National Poetry Month right here.
I also have my website, birdman313.com. Birdman is my nickname, because when I was playing ball, I could jump. 313 is my birthday. People, because I'm from Michigan, people think it's Detroit, but nowhere near Detroit. Anyway, this one is called Gloomy Day. Seeking the answers both foggy and drained. Uncertainty prevails with weary and pain. Facts and figures are in play. Wander out to begin another day. Over and under, around and through. Where do we go? What shall we do? No answers, no clues, just days of doom, filled with tension and a somber gloom. So another day comes with a picture-perfect blue, while the sky is bright with an awesome view. Soon to have an answer for another day, birds in flight in a bright sun way. Words otherwise is always intact. Just keep the faith as the good word is a fact. To live is to die is the only way, but alive is alive for another day.
Stop. Okay. Before you go, Patricia's for you. W.B. Yeats did, he stole this from an old Celtic tune, when you're old and grey and full of sleep. And D.H. Lawrence wrote, there are two ways to grow old. One is like a tree, to be cankered and angry, and the other is to grow beautiful in the light of the sun of the mortal day. And I think you've got the third way, and the third way is to dance with each moment with whatever passion you can summon, and to link with those of common origins so that your energy field is expanded by the joy and the passion of those surrounding you, who are attracted not just to your swimming pool, but to you.
Who's next? Don't go home without a poem.
Well, what is this? They all gone home? Oh, he's got one more. All right.
All good things must come to an end.
Well, what about that?
History sweeps through my mind, creating visions of all I have been. Mostly I look, searching for who I am. Meanwhile, the present collides with the past, creating a future of what has been. Can I step outside of this story? Do, be, think in new limitless ways? Create new patterns that propagate joy, love, peace, and happiness. What would I do, become? This is outside my experience. Perhaps I could loosen my eye connection, loosen ego, pride, hate, fear, anger, and lust. Watch it unfold, release its power. Attention is powerful. I sit back and watch, not judging, just watching. Heart observer, heart player. Can something come from nothing? If so, then nothing might be something. Quietly I sit, hearing breath, feeling breath with an om and an ah. Thoughts drift away, peace settles in. I am the peace, and the watcher I am watches this too. I relax, release tension, not trying, not forcing. Gently embracing the thread of peace I forge. I support beauty and love by being here now. Now I choose to listen to my body, heart, feelings. Release fears, watch peace. The past dissolves, the present evolves. Moment by creative moment I go for joy. Peace and love release pain, judgment and fear. Focusing, observe in the now moment of creation.
How about one from you?
Well, you got one from me for Patricia, but I'll do one for you guys because you're still here. Okay. Myths and illusions. First myth, that we're alone, that we are victims. False. We're always in connection. It's just the air we're breathing and the water we're drinking. This is a closed system. Used to be an expanding universe until we came to the limits of our consciousness and realized it was just a mirror to a mirror standing echoing infinities. Second myth, the myth of endings. There is no ending, just endless beginnings. Even if we take another shape and form wherever we are, any time it's a different time, and we see each other differently. Looking into the pond that ripples with the stone thrown in, whether it be Lipo, Rumi, Hafiz, whatever mystic guides you in the misty night, you will always wake up until the last dream. The myth of endings is the most dangerous myth. People say there's a myth of perfection. I haven't found it yet. I rejoice in the imperfection of breathing, in the mistakes and ellipses. I rejoice in our human errors, in our human yieldings and yearnings. I like the magnetic attraction that we have to not knowing, because if we did, would we do this? Thank you, and bless.
Oh, yeah.
Good night. Thank you. Thank you. Wonderful. Really, really good. Hey, thank you so much.